This is actually the third session third online session out of 7 that are scheduled yet from the metric network. And the metric network is actually like a network with including conservatoires across Europe, approximately 20 conservatoires. It's supported by the AEC, and the focus is on improvisation. We try to develop and strengthen improvisation practices in higher music education. So the online sessions are an ideal platform to share some of our practices. So most of the colleagues, they share their practices now online. Milana Zarić is one of our colleagues from the Metric Network in The Hague. She's a teacher there.
I am very happy to give you this presentation. Thank you for the opportunity to the Metric online sessions. It's a beautiful week every year in a different place, and I think this is wonderful to keep the thread going, these online sessions. So it's great to be here. So because we are already getting late, so I'm going to switch to my PowerPoint. Can you all see it? Yeah.
Yes, clear.
Yeah, super. So I'm going to be speaking today to you about a course that has been devised and that is going strong at the Royal Conservatoire in The Hague. It's called Collaborative Music Creation. We are here, it's divided into 3 components. Basically, the collaborative music creation is a bachelor and master elective. But there is another side to it, is that in the startup week, when the students first come in the bachelor first year, there is a like introduction startup week. They are obliged actually to go to this consecutive 4 sessions of CMC. What is CMC? It is a place where we meet interdepartmentally and make music together without specific notions of backgrounds, genres, and music styles. So it's very interesting when they come in their first week, how they react to each other. It is something that also brings them closer together with the people with whom they are going to be studying for the next 4 years. So I guess this was devised as some kind of a warm-up to their bachelor studies. So that's the startup week, but then we also have the bachelor elective, which students from 2nd, 3rd, and 4th year can opt to have, and it's a whole year's course valued for 3 credits. And it has been going strong since 2021. From this year, we have also added the master's advanced collaborative music creation, which is only for 1 semester. I will tell you a little bit more about both, but I would like to say that something very interesting about the history of how it came to be at our conservatoire. Both Kars de Jong and Richard Barrett were doing their individual research into ways and methods of improvising and working with students and educational tools that were using improvisation. And this was all part of the lectorate that we have here at the Royal Conservatoire, which is called Music Education and Society. And they both had research papers. Actually, Kars de Jong's research paper was indeed called Collaborative Music Creation. And you can see them here if you would like me to share later on, these they are both published in the research catalogs. They are really interesting and insightful reads. And anyway, from there on, they were so useful and beneficial for the school that the school decided to open a new elective with the same name, and that's how it came to be in 2021. It was the time of COVID, so the first year was a little bit strange because it had to be done online and so on. But since then, it is of course live and very much liked, from what I hear. I will now tell you just a few more things about the startup. So it is, as I already said, it is 4 classes in the startup introduction week. Each teacher, and there are I think 5 or 4 or maybe 6, I'm not quite sure, but it keeps changing every year. But they make a point of inviting teachers with completely different approaches to improvisation. So we have large groups, as you can see in this picture. Last year in September 25, I had more than 20 in each of my sessions, and it was really quite a lot of really good energy and even fun for them, because we were working on some soundtracks to silent films or experimental films. We were also doing various open pieces. A little bit more about that later when I come to the sort of the main course that we give to bachelor students. What we take pride in is that students come from all departments, and it's a practical course for them. They should be proficient on an instrument, voice or electronics. And it is really wonderful to note that every year we have a completely different setup of demographic of which students are actually attending. We usually have between 15 and 20. And what happens is that some years mostly classical players apply or get, because there is a very complicated system of lottery for electives. So I'm not really sure whether that is the same for all the conservatoires, but in any case, sometimes there is a lot of electronics people, sometimes there is a lot of classical people, but in general, we have representatives from all the departments of the Royal Conservatoire, which there are 8 of, I think. The early music, the classical music, jazz, music education, music theory, composition, sonology, art of sound, art science. So this is a hugely democratic way of combining and getting students to work together. It's what we focus on are collaborative forms, which range that are quite versatile, and there is a wide array of things that we offer them as tools at the beginning of the course especially. They range between improvisation, idiomatic, and especially non-idiomatic improvisation, as Ralph was saying earlier. This is especially important for the kind of class that we give, because the students truly come from very different backgrounds and played very different instruments. And then we also sort of train them or suggest various methods of collaborative composition, composition in the moment, or something preconceived. We have several performances a year, usually twice at the end of each semester, but this actually year we have been very fortunate to take part in the Rewire Festival. So the students of CMC have been invited to perform in this very prestigious and very highly popular Rewire Festival here in The Hague. This is the page of them participating in that. They made their concept, they made their title. It was a very successful performance at the very opening of the festival, so we hope to continue in the next years with this with the same collaboration. This is a little bit photos of previous generations of students who attended our bachelor course. And to come back from with a little bit more detailed explanation of what the course is, we have three main teachers. These are Richard Barrett, Anne LaBerge, and myself. And interspersed between our lectures and working with the students are various guests from other departments. We have had guests from classical and theory. We have had guests from jazz department, composition, sonology, early music, and students find those particularly valuable because these are such a diverse array of methods and tools that they are given, that it's really something that they look forward to, from tinkering and various electronic software systems to early music, dances, and classical improvisations. That is really, truly a very worthy part of the course. And also we hope to expand the guest component in the coming years, so that maybe some popular teachers get more than one session with them. So as you can see, this is a crossroads between departments, and we really like that notion that we can get the students to converse and collaborate together, and to also compare and be aware by their listening skills, by improving their listening and interactive skills, to compare and to work with such diverse instruments, like say analog synthesizer or no input electronics, with a recorder or early music instrument or a flute or a harp or any of the yes, basically it's very varied indeed. What we do first in the first semester usually is that we offer them diverse and quite a wide palette of experimental scores that we look at and play together. These can be either graphic scores or open pieces of different kinds, like verbal pieces, conceptual pieces, and so on. We give them films to play soundtracks on. Yes, as I said, especially with guests coming in, the first semester is more about various different approaches that they can possibly get interested and then develop further. And then the second semester basically is them working out their own collaborative pieces, whereas in the huge group, everyone together, or forming little cells between them and making pieces and discussions between smaller groups. So that way we are moving towards more compositional structures in real time, and we ask them to also make scores. So whether they would be graphic or verbal or video scores. We also had that one year that the whole class wanted to make like a video piece, and everybody contributed with 2 minutes of their own video, which we combined later on into one whole piece. Apart from these, they also learn the basics of instrument amplification. Obviously, we have a very nice hall where we give classes, which is the new music lab, but because we always have electronic instruments, we tend to have amplification for everyone, and for the instrumentalists especially, this is a good way to learn the basics of plugging themselves in and using the amplification system. And this way they develop their shared vocabulary during the year, and they become a sort of ensemble in their own right. And this is what I guess our main goal is, to create this new atmosphere or these new possibilities for a new ensemble culture in which the musicians are performers, but also creatives and composers. These are some of the examples of the verbal, the graphic scores that the students made according to what we have offered them before and according to their own background. And so this is sometimes something that they like to express themselves in. Also something like this. And then this is a piece that we all made together for a January performance, and it was, as you can see, they were using these traditional elements of music making, like melodies and chords and rhythms and pauses and gestures, in order to make some kind of a collective structure. And we were questioning what melody means in this context of improvised and not prepared in advance material. Also, we were looking in various ways how we can be very inventive about what the chord means in this context and so on. So they had a lot of fun with doing things like that. And that was, I guess, the stem of the piece that they performed later in this Rewire Festival, as I mentioned before. Then we come to the Master's Elective, which is a new thing this year. We have devised a course that is only 10 sessions long, including the final performance. And we have obviously master first year students, again, a very diverse group of people from different master specializations and master courses. We have here, as you can see, it's called Advanced CMC, because apart from all the other things that I mentioned before that are components of the course, we are expecting from master students to also have this research aspect, which means that they are offered a repertoire list, or they can also expand the repertoire list and add their own concepts, scores, or ideas. And what we ask from them is that they study existing musical concepts or scores or books or articles or anything that is connected to collaborative forms of music making. And to, based on this knowledge, create their own either reinterpretation of the piece in question or something of their own that would be inspired by what they have found in their research. So it's not a proper master research paper, but they are working in pairs, and they are expected at the end of the year to come up with a short presentation of what they have found and what they have devised, and also perform either in small groups or, again, making pieces for the larger 10 piece group, because we have 10 students. This is really quite a difference with the bachelor's, the classes. First of all, there are not so many. The teachers are Richard Barrett and myself. We don't really have possibilities to invite guests because there are only 10 sessions. And what the major difference is that the students are expected to come up with ideas of what we are going to do in the class together. So they come up with their concepts, and then we work them out and develop them and help them on their path in their practical research, so to speak. if there is any more time, I was going to also speak briefly about something else, which was an activity that we had once in the bachelor's course, and this was a one-off thing, but also something that is worth repeating and also revisiting. As an initiative of the director of the school, Lise Coleman, she was in contact with a professor at Leiden University who suggested that we do something together with the students of the Leiden University. These are humanities students gathered around this concept and this group that they have called Peace Academy. And they have visited us about 2 years ago. So they visited the CMC class. There were about 17 of them. So no prior musicians were present. But obviously they are students who are very vocal about current world problems and also the influence of we were talking about the theme was the role of the music, whether music can make any difference and how. It was a very lively discussion. We were, I think that our students benefited a lot from their kind of very broad point of view and their knowledge in especially being students of humanities, sociology and anthropology and so on. And what was really nice is that at the second part of the session we did a collective piece together. So we performed, I don't know whether it's very small on your screens, but this is a paragraph 7 from Cornelius Cardew's Great Learning. This is a monumental piece in 9 parts, movements called paragraphs. They're all for different instrumentations, for different number of performers. And this one is only for a vocal group of, it's not a set number of performers. There is a set score, which is the verbal score. I don't know whether you can see it, and probably some of you might already know this piece, but obviously it is easy to read and perform by non-musicians, and that was exactly the point. And they had a lot of fun doing it because you are supposed to also move around, and it was it was a very endearing and rewarding class to collaborate with outside of conservatoire students and also their teachers. So I think this is all I've got prepared for you today. I would like to thank the Metric Network and Jeroen for this opportunity, and also to the wonderful teachers who developed this course from its beginnings, and also to Martin Perhal, who is absolutely instrumental in all the improvisational activities at the school and always has been from the 2010s or so. And who has always been very supportive and still is very supportive of the future and development of our CMC. Lastly and not leastly, the students obviously are extremely important in this story, and we never get tired of their wonderful ideas and their sounds coming together. So I'm very happy to hear your questions, impressions. I hope we still have some time left.
Thank you so very much for your presentation. And like, if you can share something to listen later, it might be very interesting, I think, because I really want to hear what is happening as well. It might be very interesting, I think. I was just wondering if how you constructed the course. Did you have examples somewhere else, like on how they started improvising? Because starting to improvise, it's not always that easy. Sure, for students that didn't do that before. So you mentioned that they bring their own concepts and that you start working with them. But is there any, like approach you have developed before? I was just interested in that.
Thank you for that. I think there are several ways to answer that question, I think. First, the course has been developing over the years. At first, it was like several teachers coming in blocks of a couple of months, and then they would employ their own strategies drawn from their own improvisational experience, and then that would be like a gamut of different approaches without really a connecting point. But then we discovered that this is much makes more sense to make a trajectory, all of us together. So the course keeps on developing according to how we do every year with the students, but also we keep on refining this trajectory so that we are very much in cahoots with their progress, so to speak. So I think what I mentioned before, but maybe it wasn't as clear. I could maybe go into a little bit more detail about how in the first semester what we do is that we give them already existing like old open pieces, right? Because they have structure. They can be either verbal, just like conceptual Oliveros, Stockhausen, intuitive music, cardio, things that are just a concept that kind of gets them going in a way. And also graphic scores, comparing that to videos, for example, that is very kind of hard for them at the beginning, because they always say, oh yes, but I want to listen to the others, but I also want to look at the film. So then I think we introduced that concept a bit later on. But it depends on what their commitment is, and it depends on what their background is, because oftentimes the people who do join the course are the ones who are already interested in improvisation. So they would have had improvised before, and they haven't only just started, but they are all very interested in how to work together, and also how to connect their sounds, and also I think we have a very wholesome approach to the whole performance and creative input from everyone, and we ask them to speak about their impressions and perceptions during so not only just to sit in the corner and try to do some sounds, but also to vocalize from the very beginning. So that's kind of how we draw them in, because at first I remember a few years ago I would start talking to them about composers or authors or creative musicians who did really interesting things before, but it wasn't as interactive. And then, now I don't do that so much anymore, but I try to get them engaged instrumentally as well as verbally from the very beginning. And then that creates already some kind of a good atmosphere where they feel that they have agency. So I think in the people who don't have that much experience improvising, they kind of are on the fast track to get included, that they feel included that way. So this is but as I say, like this year we had a really good group, very committed from the very beginning. So they really were there. You don't have to say to them, oh well, it's compulsory to come. They are there anyway. Also, this is like that. And last year we also had a wonderful group, but they were not as committed, maybe, So and they also came from very different backgrounds. Sometimes people from classical jazz, they want to do their melodies, they want to do their chords, they want to do their licks. Like it depends on people. That's why the beauty of the course is like that we always have it.
Yeah. Thank you. Is there any other questions? I have one more, but I want to leave some space for some others.
Thank you for your impressive and informative speech for us, and your exciting presentation.
Thank you.
Thank you for invitation. It's a very good for us, Ukrainians, to be with you and to hear about your experience. I'm shocked. Okay, I have one question. I'm curious to know what your plans. What's your plans for potentially exploring new avenues? Maybe I'm referring to a possible development strategy for your organization. So I'm interested.
Thank you for the kind words, and I'm very happy that you joined from Ukraine, and I hope there are similar initiatives over there as much as currently possible, and for sure in the future. And if there is any way that we can help with any kind of say insights or sharing what we have developed here, we would very much like to stay in touch and exchange experiences. But what you were asking about development, well, I guess what we would really like eventually is that CMC becomes part of curriculum for everyone in the school in some shape or another. If that is possible in a straightforward way, I don't know, but let's say we are kind of working towards that goal, because what we see in this startup week, that's why I included that as a although that's really not such a part of our course, but in a way it is, because you can see it, the students of the first years, they come and they have to do this course, right? So you have like a big bunch of 25 kids from all kinds of backgrounds and countries and instruments and musical knowledge. And they come together and they are all, like every year, I see that they are more and more interested in just being creative, just playing their own instruments without a score, without any particular instructions or set of rules. And this tells me that something like that would be really beneficial for most, for sure, of the students if they had some kind of a possibility to be exposed to these collaborative forms of music making. As I said at the beginning, we take pride that we are a crossroads, like a meeting place between departments, and so that's one thing. And the other thing is that they can really get to know the school wholesomely, and not just their own department and their own trajectory during their 4 years. So it really broadens the horizons in a way that is musical and more for them. At the moment it's an elective, so you have to opt for it, and the problem is that you have 95 different electives and they're all interesting. So, I bet there are many other people who would like to do it, but they also want to do other things. So it's really not such a great opportunity for everyone. But of course, now that we have it for the masters, that's a very big development for us. And hopefully in the future, we will kind of expand as much as possible so that we can reach out to as many students of the Conservatoire as possible, because we believe that the student, the musician of the future, is well worth, they should be nurtured, their creative side, no matter what they want to do later on, even if they want to play in orchestras or be a completely classically on a classical trajectory, still, to be able to just sit there and invent things and listen. And in the end, the listening and playing, it's the same as in any other chamber ensemble, right? It's just the way how you interact, it's the same kind of thing. You need those skills that you already have as a chamber musician, right? So it's just the way that you incorporate everything that you have as a musician, and plus you bring in your own. material.
I think Ralph has a question as well.
Thank you. Thank you, Milana, for your presentation. It was very insightful. And I have a question regarding the size of the group. Because I saw in your photos there are really a lot of musicians. And in my experience, the beauty of the course is that I think, like usually I have about 8 to 10 students, and that is about the size I can manage kind of comfortably. If the group would be much larger, I honestly I wouldn't have concepts, I would say, to let them make music that they would kind of feel important in, because in that smaller groups I can make everybody feel important, and I see that is a huge motivating factor for them. And also the music is beautiful, and you can have duos and trios and quartets and stuff like that. Do you have experience with larger groups, how to make it work?
Yes, so in this startup week there is always a lot, but though that's only like 4 days, so it's not really a true representation of what the course is, because this is very how do you say yeah, never mind. But what I want to say is that what we do if there is a large group is that in any given piece we divide intentionally people into groups, so that they have to work within a larger structure of a piece. Say we designate certain trios or duos, and they work together first, and then we combine that into a whole piece, or combine that with the whole ensemble playing. Or what is really endearing, you know, I come from a classical music tradition, but I'm also a very experienced free improviser, and then I always combine these things like tutti. I say to them tutti, and they some of them say, well, what does it mean tutti? You know, so that I find that really wonderful, how, you know, like we can share all these concepts of you know, between our respective, you know, how we express ourselves in various music traditions and genres. So we make a point of getting them in small groups. Sometimes they only play like 2 or 3 and the others are listening. And sometimes they go off and do their own stuff, and so this is really very. And then sometimes we make a piece, for example, that everybody is obliged to stop. When they stop, they should go from the stage, out of the stage. So then all the people who are very quiet, usually they are kind of left there to be sort of exposed. So I make a point to include everyone and not just say, okay, so the ones that are loudest or that have more ideas or who are more experienced, that they are kind of always in the foreground. But I make sure that they are all included, because I guess for the people who are a little bit at the back, they kind of need it more. And it's about also encouraging, I don't know, you know, sometimes girls are not that vocal as the boys. So then, you know, like I also think that that's an important aspect, that you think about the social. You know, sometimes some people take a little less space, even though they might have more ideas, and you know, so this whole notion of having a large ensemble, it's really not a problem, I don't think, because in the end, when they come together and play together, they make a powerful sound together. But this sound is made of little cells of their own sounds that are fractured and broken first into these small ensembles. So I think that's one way to address this.
Okay, thank you, Milana.
Thank you.
Maybe one last question. I'm not sure if someone has one. I have a final question, but I leave it up first to someone else. No, no one. So maybe I can ask a last question if there's really no one else. So I'm always interested, Milana, like because we are usually from a classical training, let's say, and since classical training regularly doesn't include improvisation, maybe lately, maybe last decade, maybe a little bit earlier, but let's say during the 20th century, classical training didn't include the improvisation practice anymore. Maybe somewhere, but not in general. So I was just wondering, how did you train yourself? Did you follow courses? Did you train yourself? Did you work together with someone else? Did you do your own research on improvisation? So how did you develop your own improvisation practices? So actually, I'm very interested to know more about that.
Thank you for that question. I was very lucky. I was a student here at the Royal Conservatoire about 15 years ago, a bit more than 15 years ago. And I came here as an already a professional musician. I was a full-time player in a principal harp in a symphony orchestra. But I always liked playing contemporary music, composed music, and so on. And I took an interest in improvisation as well. And then I came here. And then these were the years when there was this explosion of phenomenal people coming to the conservatoire to give classes and master classes on improvised music. This was in 2009, 10, 11. We had very many big names in improvised music. They offered master classes. All these people came, and they had this big project on improvisation, and a lot of people were involved. And I went to all of these or most of these classes, and this is when my training in improvisation was, and it was very good because it was Evan Parker and Augusti Fernandez and Butch Morris and many like really interesting people with different approaches. And if I remember correctly, they also came for several days, and we worked on, just students coming and playing together. At that time, I guess there weren't that many people at the conservatoire themselves who actually could or taught improvisation. So I guess they felt the need to bring all these people in. And for me personally, that was completely invaluable because when I came there, I was going to just study composed music, contemporary music for the harp. But then I incorporated the improvisation, and that was actually my master research. So I formed an ensemble, and we worked for 2 years on improvised music within a certain ensemble, and that was my master paper in the end. And that's how I started. And then since then, I was always not only interested, but I had a lot of good fortune to play with a lot of musicians. And now it's time to bring all my insights back to the students, because I have this classical experience as well, and contemporary experience with working with composers and composing myself. So I try to sublimate all these things and actually say to them that this is all part of the same thing, more or less, because it's all music and it's all musicianship, and we are all musicians in the same way, in a way, even when we are freely improvising.